Hello everybody, it's Emily, and in this video I want to talk all about the time whenever I worked at Subway and my experience with it, with the customers, with my boss, with my coworkers, with everybody who I encountered while working at Subway. I worked at Subway for about 10 months, which doesn't seem that long, but I am very young still, and it was my first real job. Where you have to deal with people and what people want and people talking to you and having to obey and respect them no matter what, which can be kind of hard sometimes, especially with some people. So here is one of my first Subway shirts that I got, just as proof that I used to work there. I had to return there's this black shirt, I had to return that in order to get your final paycheck. You have to hand in your uniform and your hat. But I have two of these random, there's a lighter blue one, and it's the t-shirts, and I still have them. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. Maybe if I go and work somewhere another Subway, I could use them. But I'm not gonna work at Subway. The first problem, I guess, I don't want to be negative, but most of it is negative. This shirt is way too big for me. I wear extra smalls and youth larges. Yeah, this is a small, but it fit a medium, so I always was drowning in it, and I always had to tuck it in, and it just looked ridiculous. I always wore a visor. I started out with a hat that made me have to have my hair in braids or have it in a low ponytail, but then eventually I found a visor and claimed it as mine, so then I got to wear my hair up. And that was one thing: if your hair touched your shoulders, you had to wear it up, so I always wear it in a messy bun, and that's about it. I never really did anything else with my hair. The one thing about working at Subway is that everything I owned and wore to work then smelled like bread. People would always try to ask me what's a bad thing to get at Subway, what's bad about Subway, and I would honestly answer, nothing's really that bad. I mean, there are way worse places than Subway because we don't serve greased meat, I guess. Nothing is greasy, nothing is gross, so it made that process of cleaning things a lot easier. I think the grossest thing to clean was the soup bowl and meatball marinara sauce. That's kind of gross to me, but that's all we had to do, so I was this is fine. If I have to do this once in a while, I won't be mad about it. Another thing, I guess this is, in my experience, one of the most negative things is whenever I first started working there, I was told that we don't have light mayonnaise, and just to put the normal mayonnaise in the light mayonnaise jar. So that's what I did for a while, and I felt really guilty about it because people would be like, light mayonnaise please, and I would be like, okay, this is gonna ruin your diet. But it's okay because that eventually got changed within a month, and I think it was always like that. I just think the person who taught me how to fill the sauces didn't know that light mayonnaise existed, because it always existed. So anytime that you got light mayonnaise, you'd probably get a little bit of regular mayonnaise and a little bit of light mayonnaise. Especially at my Subway, we had a very small sink area to wash things, so whenever you wash things, it was awful. I hated it. I felt I did the dishes quite often there, and I'd always change out the water, clean it, but you had to clean everything by hand and dry everything on a rack. So after it dried, then you had to put it back, and then whenever you'd use things again, the trays that hold all the condiments in, you had to clean those twice a day. So every time that I worked, I learned it from somebody who used to work there, and then she left, so then I picked up the trait of making I worked night shifts because the managers and stuff worked morning shift, but I worked night shift all the time. So I made a list. It had 20 items on it. It consists of cleaning out the bane, doing the sauces, sweeping, mopping, teapots, tables, just cleaning and shutting down for the night. And we would start shutting down for the night around 4 o'clock, and so that'd give us 5 hours to do 20 chores. And if we were really slow, we sometimes got them done really early and we could get out of there right at closing time. Or if it was busy, we would have to stay out there for upwards of a half an hour. But we did get paid for overtime, so that was good. And going off payment, for the first 6 months, I made minimum wage there, which really kind of stunk because I was the only one who's making minimum wage. And I've always been like a very determined, kind of an overachiever, try hard kind of person. And so it kind of made me mad because I was picking up things that people who had been there for like a year still couldn't do, but I was making $1 less than them. And then after about 6 months, I got my first raise of 10 cents, so that I was making $7.35. And then right before I quit, which was 10 months in, I had just gotten a raise, another 10 cents for $7.45. That I could have gone. So the one thing about my Subway is I heard that people who worked at different Subways were already making like $8 starting out. I don't like how I'm not making as much money as I could. And that was another thing. Nobody liked the boss. I know you might hear that like everybody hates their boss, but like I genuinely had a reason to hate this boss, all right? So whenever I first started working there, one of the older ladies who had worked there for a while told me that the boss, to not get, like, don't associate with him or anything because he is kind of a perv, all right? He has asked underage girls to do bad things, and I was like, okay, thanks for letting me know that. I'm not gonna try to like talk to this guy, not gonna give him any reason to talk to me like that. And he didn't, thank God. And they were kind of thinking as soon as they started working there that we could get him in trouble for that, but he never tried to do anything, so that's good. I didn't ever argue with him. There's a lot of other people who would start drama with him, but I just shook my head and said, okay. One thing that I was always stuck doing, because I was, for the longest time, the newest one to work there, was cleaning the restrooms, all right? Those are so disgusting. And I always, okay, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even trying to say this to, like, make myself sound, like, amazing, but I always had to clean the bathrooms. It was like, I'd walk into work, and we would clean bathrooms like twice, 3 times a week, and I worked 3 or 4 times a week. And every single time I walked in there, I would hear, so-and-so wants you to clean the bathrooms. And I'm looking around at my other 2 coworkers who are working, and I'm like, what? Why me? Every single time. I don't think, until I started getting mad about it and would ask my other coworkers to start helping doing the bathrooms, I was the only one cleaning the bathrooms at Subway. So that means if they were ever dirty, I was the one who they would complain to. With other people, they do not politely ask for things. It's like I was raised with manners, and some people were not raised with manners. Like, I get I'm supposed to be serving to you, but you need to like give me some respect, because it was so bad. It was like the most, especially, okay, being a girl, a young teenage girl in a business filled with like male adults and stuff, I was always undermined. Like, they didn't understand my capabilities of like work, and I was so determined to work, but people would look at you like if you messed up. Like, let's say my good pal dropped a sandwich on the floor, like had to remake the sandwich, the customer would be like, haha, that's funny, you dropped the sandwich, remake it. I dropped a sandwich once, and it was only because the person next to me slid the, like, we had like where you put the sub into the oven, they set the tray right next to me while I was making another sandwich, and I knocked it over and it fell on the floor. But sometimes people would like pick up a sandwich and try to put it in the oven and drop it just on the floor, and I was like, geez, and like lettuce and everything would just get everywhere and it would just make a big mess. But whenever I dropped it, I felt like everybody was mad at me. They would not let it down for like the next week, kept saying, oh, we don't want you doing this because you're gonna drop the sandwich. I was like, oh my god, like I've been here for like a long amount of time and I've only dropped it once, and I've seen everybody else around me drop it 3 or 4 times. Like, why am I being blamed so hardcore for this? And then this is just people in general being so particular about their sandwich. So at the front of like where we're making stuff, like back behind the counter, but like on the metal part, like that we can see and the customers can't see, there's always like this little slip of paper that said how much of something you should put on a sandwich. So if they ask for tomatoes, on a 6-inch you're supposed to put 3 slices of tomato, and on a foot long you're supposed to put 6. So people, if they ask extra, you always put on the normal amount, and you ask, would you like more? And then you put double the amount. But some people would make up their own amounts, and they would be like, can I have 2 tomatoes cut in half, spread it on the top and the bottom? Meat and cheese goes on the top, lettuce and veggies and all that go on the bottom, and sauces, depending on what sauce it is, either goes on the veggies or the meat. But they would ask for a certain way, and they would get mad if you did it the way you were supposed to, and they'd make you either take off what you put on, or they would make you restart the entire sandwich. Then you'd have people who would always complain about the price of their food, and they'd be like, back in my day, it was only this much money for a 6-inch. Or the people who would come in and ask for a $5 footlong, I'm like, sorry, our footlongs are like $7. And then they would get mad at you and blame you for it. Like, you need to fix the prices. Why are you making the prices so high? And I was like, I have nothing to do with it. I'm sorry that it's so much. There was one time I'd explained tax to somebody and how tax where I live is 9 cents to the dollar. And they did not understand that whenever you buy food, they're like, now I don't have enough money. I didn't know there was gonna be like additional charges. Additional charges, tax, like. So that's all I wanted to say about Subway and working in my first real job, and how my experience is probably way different than any other experience that you're gonna have at a Subway. It's just what comes along with it and who's in charge and who tells you what to do. So I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this little talk story time video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!